Alright guys, so for today's video, it's going to kind of be an update from a video I did maybe like a month and a half, 2 months ago on Bill C-11. Now, unfortunately, the bill has been passed, so I figured we'd check out this video just to see what they say about it. Now, this is CBC, so, take it with a grain of salt, but here we go.
Accordingly, the motion is adopted.
And with that vote, the much debated
These guys all seem really enthused about that.
Bill C-11 passed in the Senate. For the Heritage Minister, it's a big win.
This guy's a
The
joke.
bill is very simple. It's simply asking the streamers, the Disney and Netflix that we all love to contribute to Canadian culture.
We were known in Canada for our comedy, and I think we'll see more of that.
I'd say Canadian comedy is pretty crap. The only two that really come to mind are like Corner Gas and Schitt's Creek. Those ones were pretty good. Outside of that, I don't know.
Liz Shorten says the new regulations for streaming platforms will mean more opportunities for Canadian productions.
We're very pleased that the government has taken this bold move. We know that other countries around the world are watching, and this will be a historic day.
For years, streaming platforms like Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime have operated in Canada outside of the regulations traditional Canadian broadcasters must follow, including Canadian content rules and funding Canadian productions. How that's going to change will now be up to the CRTC, but many critics, including conservatives, think the law is unnecessary.
Why wouldn't we want to compete with the world? Canada can, Canadians can. Just have faith in Canadians.
Hear, hear.
Exactly.
Others worry the rules won't be clear enough.
So the biggest concern right now is the actual ambiguity around the legislation and the doors that are open and the doors that are not closed.
These are 5 things that make perfect sense in Canada.
Much of the controversy around the bill is about whether it would apply to user-generated content, like the videos uploaded to popular sites like TikTok. The government says no.
This has nothing to do with the user-generated content. It's only about the streamers contributing to our culture.
Yet when they were trying to get that amended and taken out in terms of the verbiage, and to specifically say that user-generated content would be out of it, I don't think they approved of it.
The government will give directives to the CRTC about its vision for the bill. That will be followed by a consultation process where stakeholders can weigh in before any of the details are decided. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
So I then went to look up, again, this is another CBC article, but it does kind of go into it again. It says the Broadcasting Act was last updated in 1991, before the internet and streaming changed how we consume the internet, or our entertainment. Bill C-11 brings the CRTC into the internet age, giving the regulatory and authority to impose conditions on how online streamers support Canadian content. Now, I went a little bit further into this article. I mean, again, they're trying to emphasize that it's mainly for like streaming platforms. But it says, how does this impact online creators? There has been a lot of discussion surrounding how Bill C-11 might impact user-generated content from creators on sites like TikTok and YouTube. The bill would allow the CRTC to create discoverability rules to ensure Canadians are able to see Canadian content online. So again, it's not saying that they're not going to have some sort of reach within TikTok or YouTube or any of these other user-generated things. Some creators are worried that those rules extend to social media sites and may mean that their videos are shown to people who wouldn't be interested in them, which they argue could hamper their success, since many user-generated sites reward creators based on positive engagement. That's kind of something that I mentioned in the previous video. You're really narrowing your pool of people that you could potentially reach, especially say, for example, I have a lot of Jewish content on my channel currently. If I do a Jewish reaction or a Jewish music video or anything like that, because it's not Canadian, is it not going to get pushed? Is it not going to be seen? This and that, right? Now, apparently this guy, I guess, he said in November, Then the CRTC chair, Ian Scott, told a Senate committee studying the bill that it wouldn't allow the regulator to manipulate algorithms to achieve its goals and that it wasn't interested in doing so anyway. But they won't take that out of the verbiage, and they won't clearly say that that's not going to be the issue. But he's saying, oh yeah, why would we even bother with that? The CRTC's objective is to ensure that Canadians are made aware of Canadian content and they can find it, he says. If people are interested, they can easily go find Canadian content, I'm really sure, especially in today's day. I wish to assure you and Canadians more broadly that the CRTC has no intention of regulating individual TikTokers, YouTubers, or other digital content creators. Now, I did find a clip with this Minister of Heritage on CTV, and this was after the bill passed. They're talking about it, and listen to his answer as she's asking the exact question that we were all talking about.
Okay, we're not about what I post online.
He's trying to say here that they don't really care about what you post online personally. They're not interested in that. They're only interested on the platforms.
It's only about the platforms and their own obligations, that's it.
So you separated there the intent and the impact, and I'll separate the two in my questions too as well. As far as the intent goes, you did have an opportunity through an amendment that the Senate passed to be very specific that this bill would not target content creation at all, and you did not choose to adopt that amendment.
No,
but sorry, let me just finish. I want to pose to you then, can you understand why those content creators would then say, hey, he had the chance to be explicit, he didn't take it?
I understand that there's been a lot of disinformation and a lot of efforts from the conservatives to...
Right away, it becomes political. Disinformation, conservatives, no, this is a fact. You had the opportunity, as it was presented, for you to take it out in terms of verbiage and everything like that and be clear with it. And he chose not to.
Make people believe that, and they did also stall this bill for 14 months. You know, Vashi, that this bill is the bill that spent the most time in the Senate in the history of the country. So it's been very well analyzed in the House, in the Senate, and for us it's very clear, and if necessary I'll make it clear in my own directive to the CRTC, but it's not about users and it's not about what people post online. It's zero.
I appreciate that there was a lot of politics in this and a lot of political posturing. I know you're saying from the opposition. I think that's true. I think it's also true from the government side. I think it spent a lot of time in the Senate to a degree because there was a ton of consternation and scrutiny going on there as well, right? People were concerned about the possible impacts of this bill. So I'll pose to you again, because your answer didn't really address the substance of my question. You had the chance to be more explicit, to ascribe in the intent of the writing of the bill a very clear intent not to tackle content creation, and you didn't take it.
Well, see, again, as she's even stating, they had the opportunity to do it multiple times. Because it kept going back to the Senate. It kept getting rejected. Kept going back. Kept coming back and forth. But this is what he has to say.
No, that amendment from the senators wasn't doing that. It was creating a loophole. For example, it would say that if you take a song, a commercial song, that would be captured on Spotify, and you put a background, then that song is not captured on YouTube. At the end of the day, it's the same song that you're listening to. So you have to be fair. If something is commercial and it's on social media, and it's exactly the same thing that is on, for example, Spotify, then it has to be captured in the same way, but not the content. I'm not interested in the content.
So how are you going to separate that without penalizing the content that's using that, say, Canadian music? It's so difficult to do that. Coming back to the article, just listening to him say the disinformation stuff. And then I stumbled across this video not too long ago of by a channel named Milk Bar TV. And they did a little side by side of Justin Trudeau. And so I figured we'd take a look at this and see, why would we believe anything that is said?
Misinformation and disinformation is carrying people to believe things that are untrue. And vaccinations is a perfect example of it. Any vaccine we distribute to Canadians will be safe for Canadians. Are people who've probably gotten very sick from vaccinations. Every vaccine that is improved is safe for Canadians is uncompromising. Well, individuals are allowed to make their own choices. There may be all sorts of different reasons why someone is hesitant to get vaccinated. There's no more excuses to not get your shot. And therefore, while not forcing anyone to get vaccinated, enforcement measures in place will make sure that everyone is vaccinated. I chose to make sure that all the incentives, travelers across the country need to be fully vaccinated. People coming into the country need to be fully vaccinated. We're there, don't get to work in the public service, don't get to go to movie theaters or gyms or restaurants, to encourage Canadians to get vaccinated. And that's exactly what they did. We got vaccinated to a higher level than just about any other of our peer countries.
Unknown causes was the leading cause of death in Alberta last year.
And so you see, this is the Canadian government. This is what they want to do. Grab control of what they push out there. That's Canadian content, apparently, where they think we're just a bunch of dumbos and we don't know what's going on, what we see, what we don't see. But, you know, hopefully the CRTC doesn't get implemented for a while and they do get some amendments going back into the Senate or whatever regulatory base is going to be happening. And it actually does segregate the online stuff from the individual content creators. Otherwise, it's going to be a sad time on the internet. But as always, love to hear what you guys have to say, and I will catch you guys on the next one.